Hey guys, today is a life update video. For anyone who's new to my channel, I do these a couple times a year. So if you're coming here for beauty content, it's still here. I'm not changing this channel up or anything, but I do these life update videos for anyone who's followed me for a long time because I've been on YouTube since 2008. We are practically married at this point, you guys, because we've been together for so long. So this update is going to be an emotional one. I'm going to save the losing my son story toward the end because I know I'm going to get really emotional and I want to get through the other stuff before I start crying. And there is a trigger warning for that one just because it is talking about miscarriage and things that had happened. So if that is triggering for you, it's at the end. But first off, let's start with happy news. And that is we have new products coming soon. I've been telling you guys that for a while. Long story short, I had two brands that were launching. There was the Makeup Geek Academy, which is my soulful project. And by that, I mean, I've been a teacher for a long time. Before I ever came here on YouTube in 2008, before I ever started Makeup Geek, the cosmetic brand, I was a teacher for a long time. That's what my degree is in. I went to Michigan State to work on my master's. And while I was getting my master's degree is when I started YouTube and I was teaching full time. I couldn't juggle all three. So something had to give. And I knew at that moment I was going to pivot my career away from teaching anyways for a multitude of reasons. And so I ended up focusing full time on YouTube. I quit teaching and I quit getting my master's degree. It was a few classes short and it didn't make sense to keep doing it if I knew I wasn't going to use that degree. So here we are today. The Academy is something I love my students that are in there, you guys. I have a group of students especially that are taking the business and beauty class where I'm helping them form their businesses, their brand strategies, their branding guides, how to make them stand out in a sea of other brands. So I really enjoy that. It makes my soul happy. That brand is like my soulful project that I love. It makes me happy. I'm passionate about. I love teaching. So that's for my soul. But I knew that I was going to always work on a product brand to replace Makeup Geek. And I know a lot of people out there are like, why didn't you just come out with Makeup Geek again? It's a long story we'll save for another day. There's a lot of trauma for me personally attached to Makeup Geek as a brand, which is deep. So again, I'm not going to talk about right now. And I honestly am at a different stage in my life right now than I was when I was 28, when I first started on YouTube and used the name Makeup Geek. That's just not who I am today. It just doesn't fit. So the new brand is coming in the near future. So anyone who is on the Makeup Geek cosmetic email list and anyone who is in the Academy, you guys will get an email in the near future giving you first access to everything. That's my thank you to all of you guys for being so supportive. You guys, I'll give you a password protected site that you can enter and you can see everything first. So if you see an email that has my name in it, Marlena, it's not spam. It really is me. So check your inbox. Check your inbox in a week or two. Then other notes, the other project that I've been working on for the last year is the beauty magazine. This magazine is my attempt of bringing everyone in the beauty space together. Professional artists, professional hairstylists, people behind the scenes, brand owners, especially independent brand owners who have amazing products that no one's talking about that are incredible. I want to support. We have featured content creators and all sorts of people and telling lots of really cool stuff, you guys. It's just a really amazing way to connect everyone together. Full transparency, I do not make a single dime off of this magazine. We've had a couple pages that we have had some affiliate links in an attempt to help try to cover costs because there's a whole team that's working on this magazine, you guys. The editor's name is Mandy. She's done an amazing job with the cover shoots, piecing everything together, photographers, writers. Like there really is an entire team that works on this magazine. It's a huge project. It comes out every month. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll put the link below. Again, I'm not saying this to be like, oh, I don't make a single dime off of it. I don't. This is an amazing project that I really would like to be able to spot feature a bunch of really cool people and tell a story of what's going on behind the scenes of the beauty industry. So I'll link to that below. You can follow it on Instagram too. It's called The Beauty Magazine. It's an amazing magazine, you guys. I think you'll really enjoy it. So there's that. Also, this one is very hard for me to talk about too. I'm getting emotional for this one. When I had to close Makeup Geek during COVID, it obviously was an emotional time. I got blindsided with that because, starting at 2016 was a grueling year that everything exploded in my face with the company, my personal life. So much so, you guys, I could literally write a book of everything that happened in just 2016 alone. It was some horrific, horrifying stuff. The fact that I'm actually sitting here alive today is a miracle. I don't want to go into the details of that because it's really raw and very gritty. Fast forward to 2022 when I found out after COVID hit, what happened was holidays had hit, and usually that's our peak season of sales. We had just rebranded the company, and we had a waiting list of 5,000 people who are waiting to get like the rebranded pallets, the matrix pallets and everything. Great. We had this whole list of people waiting for it, and then COVID hit and production shut down, and everything was shut down for most of that year. And throughout that year, you guys, I was still paying all of my full-time employees their salary so they could live, because I couldn't in good mind or good conscience kick them to the curb during a international worldwide pandemic and be like, oh, hey, good luck. Thanks for your years of helping at Makeup Geek. Bye. So between like production shutting down, being out of product, no one wearing makeup during COVID, I'm still paying my staff. We still had like all these massive, like we call it was the running joke behind Makeup Geek, you guys. It was the 7 layers of hell from 2016 on that the whole team was trying to like get us out of so many things that had happened. So fast forward to 2022, Makeup Geek obviously closed. And when that happened, you guys, I mentally had made a very strong decision that moving forward on my platform and even in the new brands that I create, there was always going to be an aspect of that helps women. Now, obviously, the new brand hasn't launched yet. It's coming soon. But there is someone very special on my heart whose name's Kelly. I did a candle collab with the Mayan Collective to raise funds for her, but she still has missing funds that she needs to build her house.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly. And in June of 2022, day before Father's Day, our house burnt down. If my boyfriend didn't wake up, we would not be here today. We had less than 5 minutes to get out, and we lost all of our fur babies. And I ended up in the hospital trying to save them, fighting to get back what we had. Thank you so much for your kindness. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Kelly lost her home in a massive fire almost 2 years ago. She almost died in it. She has health issues related to inhaling smoke. She lost her 3 kittens. She lost everything, family heirlooms. She has been fighting with State Farm insurance, which don't ever get you guys. That's a whole nother story for another day. If you have State Farm insurance for your home, cancel it, get a new one. They're awful. So she has State Farm and has been fighting them for 2 years. And basically they refuse to pay her the full cost it takes to even just rebuild what she had. So she's in the hole. And I made a promise to myself I was going to help her. So until I can get the brand up and going to have some products that I can sell to fundraise for her, she has a GoFundMe link. And I know this for coming from me, you guys are like, well, why don't you, you had a successful company in the past. Why are you asking that? You guys, this is nothing for me. I don't get a dime from this. And I'm not asking for anyone to contribute if you can't, but I have such a large audience. So if everyone watching this even gives just $1 or $5, it goes a long way to helping Kelly get back on her feet. So moving forward, with the new brand, especially the product brand, I have a segment of the line, and I'll explain this in the launch video, that is dedicated to raising funds for women in need, like domestic abuse victims or women who have gone through some horrific things. Like that's something very dear to my heart. So ideally the brand would have launched by now and I would have been able to help Kelly myself with this, but it's not launched yet. So that's why I'm posting it here, you guys. I know this comes across a little bit insensitive with everyone struggling financially. So please don't feel I'm pressuring you. Just if you want to contribute towards her, I'll put her link below. She's an amazing, genuine, kind person, you guys. And I would love to see her just be able to like at least get cabinets in her kitchen. Like she literally cannot do anything other than frame the house at this point. So there's that piece. The other news, for those of you who know, I have my daughter Annalena. She's 4 now. You guys, she's 4. She started pre-K this year, and it makes my little heart like so sad because I can't believe how fast she's grown. So I don't put a lot of pictures of her on social media because the world's a crazy place. And my husband and I decided that we just didn't want her to put her face on social media. So I try to show little hints of her where you can see like the side of her face or just hear her voice so everyone knows like, mom life is going great, you guys. But I love being a mom. Like it's the best thing ever. And again, I'm crying again. But the reason for that is because anyone who had just followed me recently, my story, I had my daughter at 40 years old. I'm 44 now. I had her at 40. And right when I found out that I was pregnant with her 3 days prior, I was at a fertility clinic and I heard the news that I was most unlikely to ever become a mom. My eggs were old. I'm too old. I'm too fat. I have health issues, this and that. I got the grimmest news ever at this fertility clinic. And they told me my only shot of having I think it was a 17% chance of having a baby was to do IVF. So we went home. I cried my eyes out. It was like $50,000 per session. It wasn't even guaranteed. I was like, this isn't even even worth it for us at this time to try that for something that has such a low success rate. Fast forward 3 days later, I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter already when I was at the clinic, and I didn't know it yet. So her story is like wild, you guys, wild. So she's 4 now. She's doing amazing. She's in pre-K. We are still in Texas. I don't know how much longer we will be here. That's a story time. I don't know if I want to get into fully today. This is my trigger warning. I'm going to try to get through this, you guys. I'm 44 and I had a miscarriage in 2021, September of 2021. It was right after the heartbeat bill was passed in Texas. If you just Google my name, Marlena Stell, miscarriage, you will see my story plastered all over the internet. I got international news involved in my story because I was denied a DNC for my miscarriage. I was 9 weeks pregnant, 9.5, almost 10 actually. I found out the pregnancy wasn't viable. I had a previous miscarriage before I had my daughter years ago in Washington, and I had a DNC for that one because my body would not recognize a miscarriage. My mom had the same thing. My mom had 5 miscarriages. I'm the only child for that reason. She had the same thing. Her body would not recognize miscarriages. It just wouldn't. And I knew I had that same genetic trait because in my previous miscarriage, I couldn't pass it. I was in extreme pain to the point where I could barely walk, but I wasn't passing anything. And that happened in 2021. Long story short, the hospital denied me a DNC. I had to go to an abortion clinic to get one because I had no other options at that time. Fast forward to this year, after that happened, my husband and I made a decision that we were not going to try to get pregnant after that because that was such a traumatizing experience for us. Like during that miscarriage, me going to the abortion clinic, I had to prove multiple times over that I lost the pregnancy. I had to get multiple ultrasounds, and because it was in the first trimester, it had to be transvaginal, which that is a whole nother emotional aspect when you feel like a walking coffin, you're in extreme pain, and then you are forced to do multiple ultrasounds that are transvaginal. You're on that table and you have to hear over and over and over again by a technician in this very awkward moment of her looking at you in silence and saying, I'm sorry, this isn't a valid pregnancy. I have to hear that over and over. It's re-traumatizing. So there was that piece. And then when I went to the abortion clinic for my DNC, there were protesters outside yelling at me, telling me I was a baby killer. They had signs. There was even a mom in the car right next to us when my husband dropped me off. He wasn't allowed to go in because there's so much chaos outside. There was a mom that had a teenage daughter that was getting out her car, and she took her teenage daughter there to protest too. And it just was a horrific experience because I was there to get rid of a pregnancy that I wanted. I very much wanted that baby, and I had no choice but to go here, and I'm being yelled at the way in. So because that all had happened, my husband and I had decided after that we weren't going to try for any more children. And that made me extremely sad because I have my daughter. She asked me all the time. She asked me a couple of nights ago even. Sorry, I told you guys this is going to be triggering. She asked me 2 nights ago, Mommy, you are pregnant, because she knew I was pregnant this year. We told her because we felt pretty secure. I'll talk about it in a second. My daughter asked me, she's like, Mommy, how come I don't have a sister? I want a sister. You had a baby in your belly. How come we don't have a baby? Like, she asked me all the time. And it kills my soul that I don't get to give her that baby. So us making that decision to not try was not a decision taken lightly. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I told you it was triggering. I really am trying not to get too emotional, but I'm telling this story not because I want sympathy, you guys. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm telling this story because I know there's a bunch of other women out there who have gone through, have lost a baby they wanted, had a miscarriage that went horribly wrong, and feel alone in their story because it's an uncomfortable topic to talk about. And most women don't talk about it publicly because there's this stigma around it that there's something wrong with you. You failed, or, why couldn't you carry a pregnancy? And there's a lot of guilt and trauma around it. So we women don't talk about it. So I'm talking about it as a way for me to heal, but also for me to be able to encourage other women who have gone through this, knowing that they're not alone, that there's comfort in knowing that other women are struggling too. So that's my purpose of sharing this, you guys. Please don't think I'm trying to ask for sympathy. So this year, in March, early March, it was March 9th, I found out I had lots of swelling. I had a lot of health issues this year, which I'll talk about in a second too, but I found out in March that I was pregnant. And my husband and I, when we first found out I was pregnant, because I had swelling in my ankles, and I was like, okay, something's really wrong. And then I missed, my time in the month. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm, in my 40s, maybe this is perimenopause, this is just going to happen. I honestly was like, woohoo, like I don't have one this month. Yes. I was excited at that moment because I really was like, okay, my husband and I are like actively not trying to have a baby. And I'm in my 40s and I've had miscarriages and I had a really hard time conceiving my daughter 4 years ago. So there's no way on earth I would ever get pregnant. Well, apparently I was wrong. So March 9th, I had swelling in my legs. I knew something was off and I was like, okay, let me just take a pregnancy test just in case. But I was like, I'm not pregnant. We aren't trying. There's no way this could happen. And I took the first test and it came back positive. And I didn't believe it. So I asked my husband, I called my husband. I was like, you need to go get more, go get 3 more, get different brands. I took 4 tests, you guys, and I left them sitting on a paper towel on our counter. And my husband walked in and both of us, our initial reaction should have been excitement because we so badly wanted a baby. But to be frank with you guys, our first reaction was absolute horror because my experience for the previous miscarriage was so traumatizing. And I knew that me being at this age and having health issues that I have now, I had a high chance of having a miscarriage. And how was my treatment going to be? Because I did not get good care before. And if I do lose the pregnancy, am I going to be denied a DNC again? Am I going to have to fly out of state? Am I going to have to like go to desperate measures to get a procedure I know I need for my miscarriage? So that's what all was playing through my head. So my husband and I both couldn't even have this positive, joyous moment. It was a moment of sheer terror. So the first thing that we did, we started looking up in Washington State where we moved from Texas before to see like, okay, maybe we could rent a house there and stay there. And just in case like something happens, we have options to get access that we need and things like that. And fast forward to several weeks later, I had an ultrasound and they said, okay, we don't think you're as far along as you think, but everything seems to look okay. That was the first ultrasound. Fast forward to May 8th. It was a Wednesday. I had my appointment with my OB. I went into the hospital. I was about 11 to 12 weeks pregnant at this point, what they were guessing. And I knew instantly when I had the ultrasound tech, she was really quiet and said, the doctor will come in and talk to you. And in that moment, I knew exactly what that meant is that I lost the baby. We knew already that it was a boy. And that made it harder because I have a girl and I wanted a boy. Sorry. So the doctor asked what we wanted to do. And immediately I was like, I'm getting a DNC. If you guys don't offer it here, I will go somewhere else to get a DNC, but I'm not going to have an experience like I had before. And this time, surprisingly, they did agree to do a DNC. So the next day, Thursday, the hospital had called me and they said, we can't do your DNC, your insurance denied it. I was like, what do you mean my insurance denied it? Like I have decent insurance, like we spend like thousands a month in care for our whole family. How are they not going to cover a procedure I need for a miscarriage that I had? And they told me if I wanted the procedure done that next day, Friday morning, I would have to pay $15,000 upfront out of pocket, no payment plan, no nothing in order for them to even schedule the surgery. And my husband and I looked at each other, we're like, okay, we've got everything invested in this brand that's coming out. And at the end of the day, I'm like, we shouldn't have to be paying $15,000 out of pocket when we spend literally thousands upon thousands every year for health insurance on top of paying out of pocket for so many things. This is absurd. So we booked plane tickets to go to California. Originally it was going to be Colorado, but we ended up California because we have family and friends there to go to a clinic to have a DNC done there because I knew that it was going to be $500 out of pocket to have that procedure done. It would still be cheaper for a whole family to get plane tickets and fly out of state to have this procedure done versus paying $15,000 and have it done at the local hospital. Well, that night we booked our plane tickets Thursday around 4:00 in the afternoon. At 6:00 on Thursday night, I started having severe cramping and I instantly started stressing out because I was like, I might have to fly out there sooner. I've got to get this DNC because I assumed it was going to be like my previous 2 miscarriages where I had severe pain and didn't pass anything. Fast forward to 7:00 that night, I started to pass some things. And I'm not trying to get too graphic, you guys, but there was obviously like I went to the bathroom and I saw some things. And then in my mind, I was like, okay, this is happening here at home. My pain had started around 6 p.m., 6 to 7 p.m. By midnight, I had lost so much blood that I was passing out in the bathroom. My husband came in and I was covered in sweat, white as a ghost, and I was getting delusional. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew like I was completely out of it. I remember like having slightly blurred vision, but I was so fatigued and I was in the worst pain of my life. Like, you guys, I'm not a chicken when it comes to pain. Like, when I gave birth to my daughter, that C-section, the epidural wore off mid-surgery. Like, I've been through that kind of trauma and pain. This miscarriage, you guys, was unlike any pain I've ever had in my life. The most horrifying, like, it was full on labor pains, and on top of feeling like I was having like parts of my inside being ripped out of my body. It was horrific pain. My husband calls the paramedic, calls 911 and asks them what to do. And they said, if she's having that much blood loss, she needs to come in right away. So the paramedics came, they took me out on a stretcher. They took me to Houston Methodist Hospital, which is, I have a lot to say about this hospital and it's not pleasant. All I'm going to say is we got brought in by stretcher. They left me on the stretcher for a good 20 to 30 minutes, screaming in horrifying pain and bleeding out all over the stretcher before they finally got me into a room. It was not busy that night at all. It was not busy. It was very quiet. So that's why even the paramedics were getting frustrated. Like, why aren't you guys taking her? She's obviously bleeding out on this stretcher. Get her into a room. They got me into the room and hadn't done anything, giving me anything. And my husband was like, she needs something for this pain. Like, this is out of control pain and she needs to be checked. She's lost a lot of blood. So they finally gave me some pain meds. And all I know is I passed out after that. I woke up about 4 a.m, covered in blood. Sorry, you guys. And I was begging the nurses to please change me. I could feel it. I could feel everything. Finally, a new nurse had come in, a different one, and I was begging her because I begged the previous nurse earlier when I first got to the hospital, can you please change me or put something under me? Like, I can feel like I'm covered. I see it. I feel it. The new nurse that came in when I woke up at 4 o'clock had come in. She was super kind, cleaned me up, changed me on all that, but they didn't do anything outside of giving me pain meds. I was sent home at 7 a.m. on Friday, and I assumed that everything was past, but I was still having a lot of pain. Saturday, I was getting nervous and was going to go back to the hospital because I'm still having pain. I'm still like having heart palpitations. I'm fatigued. I'm sweating a lot. I knew something was internally wrong. And I was in the bathroom Saturday night. This is really graphic, you guys, so please fast forward if this is triggering. I heard a drop in the toilet, and I knew exactly what it was. It was my son. I hadn't passed him earlier. I thought I did. I thought it was all done. And I knew in that moment exactly what it was. And the reason I'm getting graphic with this, you guys, is most people who haven't had miscarriages, or when men try to speak over women on this topic, they don't understand that there's not only a very horrifyingly painful physical aspect to miscarriage, there's the mental and emotional trauma of it almost always happening in a bathroom. And in that moment, having to decide, am I going to look? Am I not going to look? Do I try to scoop him out and give him a burial? Do I flush him down? And I didn't have it in me at all to look. I saw enough the days prior on my miscarriage. I didn't want to see what I had to see. I sat there for 10 to 15 minutes crying my eyes out, too afraid to even call my husband or tell him. And I just sat there and I didn't know what to do. And finally, I just flushed the toilet. And then immediately after, I had so much remorse because I felt like a horrible person that this baby I wanted, I flushed down the toilet because I didn't know what else to do. And that is why, outside of YouTube and other avenues, you guys, I'm very vocal on the issue of miscarriage and miscarriage care, women's rights to healthcare and things like that, because it's very personal for me. And I try not to talk about it on YouTube because this is my safe space to talk about makeup and beauty and all the fun things and not the horrifying things that I've experienced in my life. But this one, it hits personal, you guys. So all of that is to say, I know this is a traumatizing story to say, is that I'm asking anyone out there, if you've not been through a miscarriage, please have understanding for any women who have, because it's so much worse than you could ever imagine. Pain-wise, emotional, mental. Like, to this day, this is months later, you guys, and I still have trauma. I still have nightmares. I still have really deep emotional trauma related to that because of what I went through, what I saw and experienced, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone ever. So anyone who's gone through miscarriage, just know I'm here for you for that. I'm sorry to end on a really bad note, you guys, but I knew this was going to be emotional, but I really want to share this story so others who've gone through it have a safe space where they can be heard and feel like that they have gone through something similar, that you're not alone. And I hope even in the slightest way that brings some comfort to your soul. And I'm sending you so much love for anyone who's gone through that. that. So I hope everyone watching this stays happy and healthy, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.